Hey there, have you ever glanced at the back of a dollar bill and wondered about that strange eye floating atop a pyramid? Or maybe you've heard tales of secret handshakes, cryptic symbols, and hidden rituals lurking just out of sight? If so, you're definitely not alone. These stories spark curiosity in most of us, because who doesn't love a good mystery, right? Well, get ready, because today we're pulling back the curtain on the Masons. Yes, those Masons, the ones who've been rumored to hold ancient secrets, shape empires, and quietly influence history. But here's the real shocker. What if their greatest secret isn't a gold vault or a guarded handshake, but a step-by-step plan for transforming your own mind and your entire life? Stick with me for the next little while, and I'll share how Masonic teachings, often cloaked in secrecy, might just hand you a master key, one that opens a door to self-discovery, personal power, and spiritual growth. No, you don't have to sneak into hidden lodges or memorize strange incantations. All it takes is a willingness to look at some dusty old symbols and legends in a whole new light. Because once you see what they're really about, you can't unsee it. Prepare to have your view of the world totally flipped around. And I'll let you in on a little spoiler. This journey isn't just for them. It's for you. Because Masonic secrets, at their core, are universal. They're about balancing your inner forces, mastering your mindset, and literally building a stronger version of yourself from the inside out. Intrigued? Great, because we're about to dive into the blueprint. And trust me, you won't want to miss a single page of it. Glimpsing the Masonic mystery. Let's be honest, half the fun of any great mystery is the suspense. We've got secret symbols like the square and compass, references to hidden grand designs, and hush-hush rituals whispered behind closed doors. Most people assume it's all about clandestine power moves or some coded map to buried treasure. But what if this buried treasure is actually locked away inside of you? Imagine stumbling upon a dusty old manuscript passed down from generation to generation. On its pages, you see sketches of architectural tools, things like squares, compasses, pillars, and a blazing eye in a triangle. Right next to them are cryptic lines of text about light and darkness, order and chaos. Confusing, right? But here's the twist. The Masons weren't just building cathedrals and monuments in olden times. They were also building themselves. In other words, every tool and symbol can be read in two ways. The physical way, like literally building a church, and the metaphorical way, like shaping your own mind and character. That's the real gold nugget. These secrets revolve around how to grow as a person, become more aware, harness your passions, and live with integrity. It's not about learning some archaic chart. It's about discovering the blueprint for living a balanced, purposeful, and dare I say, enlightened life. Sound like a tall order? Maybe. But keep reading, because we're only just getting to the good stuff. The hidden blueprint, a big reveal. Here's the million-dollar question. How do these cryptic Masonic messages translate into real-world, personal transformation? Let's think about this like a cook looking at a complex recipe. At first glance, it's a little intimidating, a bunch of ingredients, measurements, timing instructions. But once you actually start mixing and tasting, you realize it's all about balance. Too much salt and you've got a disaster. Not enough spice and your dish is bland. The Masons approach the human mind in much the same way. They believe we're all builders, constructing something far more significant than any physical edifice, our own consciousness. Every choice, every thought, every emotion is like a brick or beam. Set it in place well, and you create a solid, beautiful structure that can endure the storms of life. Set it haphazardly, and, well, the walls might cave in when the first gust of adversity hits. This hidden blueprint suggests that personal mastery emerges from understanding and balancing core aspects of yourself, your intellect, your feelings, and your actions. It's simple in theory, but mind-blowing in practice. Think of it as the ultimate do-it-yourself project. Only here, you are the raw material and the construction site. And the best part is, you already have all the tools. The Masonic secrets are basically instructions for using them properly. The builder's journey. Enter the hero. Let's get personal for a second. Have you ever felt like you're supposed to be doing something bigger? Something more meaningful, but you just can't quite pin it down? If you've had that nagging feeling in the pit of your stomach, you're not alone. This is precisely the dilemma that the mythic builder in Masonic lore wrestles with. He's tasked with constructing a temple, one that's more spiritual than physical, and he's given a set of peculiar tools and symbols, along with some vague instructions that he'll have to decipher on his own. I like to think of him as a classic hero in a fantasy quest. Every step is fraught with challenges. Some are external, but most come from within. He has to conquer self-doubt, because really, who among us hasn't wrestled with that demon? Emotional turmoil and the temptation to cut corners when the job gets tough. Sound familiar? But here's the sweet part. Every time the builder overcomes an obstacle, he levels up. Each success or failure shapes him into something more resilient, more thoughtful, more in tune with his own mission. And that mission, it turns out, isn't just to stack stones or carve grand pillars. It's to craft the best possible version of himself. That's right. The temple might exist in the world, but it's also a reflection of the world inside him. And guess what? The same holds true for you and me. We're all building something, maybe a career, a family, a creative project, or even a dream we haven't fully defined. Along the way, we trip over ourselves, second-guess our abilities, and bump into the same lessons again and again. But each time, if we pick ourselves up and learn from it, we inch closer to our own masterpiece. That's the gift of the builder's journey. It reminds us that real progress happens one brick at a time. Tools of the craft, squares, compasses, and eyes. Oh my! All right, let's talk goodies. You've seen the classic Masonic emblem, a square and compass with the letter G in the middle. Ever wonder why a builder's square and a pair of compasses are so iconic? Well, if you ask a Mason, they might give you a polite smile and say, it's complicated. But let's break it down in simpler terms, shall we? The square. Imagine you're trying to lay the foundation of a house. You need a tool to ensure every angle is exact, every beam aligned just right. In life, we use the square to keep ourselves in check, to make sure our moral angles aren't warped. It's a symbol of fairness, honesty, and straight dealing. Think of it as a personal alignment tool for your values. The compass. This one's all about boundaries, balance, and perspective. The compass draws circles, signifying the limits within which we choose to live. It's about self-control and realizing that while we may reach out to the horizon, we also need to navigate the sphere of our personal responsibilities. Too far in one direction, and we're off-center. The compass reminds us to find equilibrium. The all-seeing eye. Yes, the famous eye. Spoiler alert, it's not some spy device lurking in the sky. Instead, it represents awareness. Think of it like your conscience, always watching, always taking notes. It encourages you to be mindful of your actions, because, in the end, the only person who truly judges you is you. These might seem like old-fashioned tools, but each is a metaphor for an aspect of human potential. When you learn to handle them effectively, you're essentially training yourself to see angles clearly, truth, maintain balanced circles, moderation, and cultivate honest awareness, integrity. It's not about building a structure out there. It's about building the most authentic you possible. Light EVs, darkness, dueling forces, hidden gems. Now let's switch gears and venture into one of the most poetic themes in Masonry, the interplay of light and darkness. Sounds dramatic, right? But we're not talking about a Hollywood showdown with flaming swords. This is more about the everyday battles inside your own head. Darkness. Picture this as the unknown, the chaos, or the fear that creeps in when we're uncertain. Darkness is all those hidden corners of your personality you'd rather not reveal, the insecurities, regrets, or mistakes you shove under the rug. Traditionally, we treat darkness like it's the villain of our story, but the Masons suggest it's actually a vital player. Darkness is a breeding ground for growth. It's where seeds germinate before they reach for the sun. Light, here we have knowledge, clarity, and insight. When you flip on that mental light switch, you see things more clearly, your motivations, your goals, your stumbling blocks. Light is powerful, but it can also be blinding if there's too much of it. Ever been in a situation where you overthink everything, become hyper-aware, and end up paralyzed by all the possibilities? Too much light can do that. The Masonic twist is that both are necessary. Just like day and night, they dance around each other in a cosmic rhythm. Without darkness, light loses its meaning. Without light, darkness becomes suffocating. So, the real magic happens when you learn to move gracefully between them, embracing your shadows enough to find hidden parts of yourself, then shining enough light to bring them into harmony. This is the essence of transformation, using darkness as the fertile soil where your personal growth can take root, and letting the light guide your steps. The Stairway of Mastery, climbing one step at a time. Okay, so how do we actually move from darkness to light, from confusion to clarity? The Masons lay it out as a stairway, sometimes shown with a series of steps, each representing a piece of knowledge or an inner achievement. Imagine you're standing at the bottom, staring up at a tall flight of stairs that leads into the unknown. Each step has a label like logic, geometry, music, or even sense perception. It looks daunting, but here's the comforting part. You only have to climb one step at a time. We all start on the ground floor, where the pillars of duality, often referred to as the pillars of light and dark or strength and establishment, loom large. Passing between them is like saying, yes, I accept both the good and the rough parts of myself. Then you begin ascending. Each step symbolizes learning a new skill, refining your senses, or exploring a fresh aspect of yourself. Logic, maybe you practice analyzing your thoughts objectively instead of freaking out whenever a problem pops up. Music, perhaps you realize life has its own rhythm, and you can't just force everything to your personal tempo. You learn to flow. Geometry, you see patterns in your life, noticing how relationships, time, and opportunities connect like shapes on a blueprint. Before you know it, you've gone from a wide-eyed novice to someone who actually understands how each facet of life interlocks. The brilliance of the stairway analogy is that it's never about instant leaps. It's always about that next step. One foot in front of the other. It's the same approach you'd use to master an instrument or learn a new language, tiny increments that accumulate into big transformations. Thought, emotion, action, the triple powerhouse. Now let's tackle a foundational trio that Masonic teachings emphasize over and over: thought, emotion, and action. These three pillars, as they're often called, are like the legs of a three-legged stool. Knock one out and the whole thing topples. Thought, ever wake up at 3 a.m. with a racing mind bombarded by 1,000 what-ifs? That's the power of thought, unrestrained. When harnessed though, thought can be your greatest ally, helping you solve problems and imagine new possibilities. In Masonic tradition, mastering thought means learning to direct your mental energy where it truly counts. Emotion, we like to think we're rational creatures, but let's be real. Emotions often run the show. Emotions can fuel your passion and empathy, or they can spiral you into jealousy, rage, or crippling anxiety. The Masonic approach: acknowledge them, understand them, but don't let them drive the bus alone. Think of your emotions as energetic horsepower. It's amazing, but you still need a driver's seat. When these three pillars line up, when you think clearly, feel deeply yet wisely, and act with purpose, you become an unstoppable force. It's like turning on a well-oiled machine where every gear works in harmony. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to strive for balance. And that, my friend, is when real progress happens. Unveiling the eye, vision beyond sight. By now, you're probably itching to revisit that famous all-seeing eye. Let's rip the band-aid off. It's not about Big Brother watching your every move, nor is it an alien overlord. Rather, it's about cultivating a superpower called self-awareness. Picture it like a third eye that peers inside your heart and mind, noticing every thought, motive, and impulse without judgment. Why does this matter? Because without self-awareness, you're basically on autopilot. You might believe you're making conscious choices, but in reality, you're just reacting to old habits, fears, or fleeting desires. The all-seeing eye is that gentle, persistent voice within that says, "Wait a second, why are you doing that? Is this really what you want?" When you actually listen to that voice, it can save you from a world of regret. Think of self-awareness as the best teacher you never knew you needed. It won't scold you harshly, it'll just shine light on what's hidden. And once you see your patterns, you can't unsee them. This is how real change starts, by noticing where you're stuck or blind, then choosing to do something about it. In Masonic lore, that eye perched in a triangle also hints at the unity of your being, body, mind, and spirit, all converging in awareness. When you tie all these elements together, you don't just live life, you experience it fully, with clarity and intention. Constructing the inner temple, your personal sanctuary. Take a second and imagine you have a secret room in your mind, decorated exactly how you love, perfectly organized and offering total peace and clarity. That's your inner temple. The Masons talk a lot about building temples, but the biggest twist is that the most vital one isn't made of bricks and stone. It's internal. Here, every stone is an aspect of your character. Are you kind? Are you tenacious? Do you practice gratitude? Each stone you lay represents a virtue or a principle you've decided to embody. The mortar that binds it all is your daily practice. For some, it's meditation. For others, journaling, prayer, or even just a reflective walk in nature. The point is to keep building, one day at a time. But guess what? Your inner temple is never finished. Life is dynamic, and so are you. There will always be new expansions, repairs, and improvements. That's a good thing. The idea isn't to reach some final perfect state. It's to stay engaged in the ongoing process of polishing your rough edges. Because each time you do, you discover a little more strength, a bit more wisdom, and a clearer sense of purpose. When your inner temple is sturdy, it becomes a sanctuary where you can retreat during life's storms. Outside forces, criticism, stress, disappointment can batter the walls, but they can't topple what you've built from the inside out. This is the epicenter of self-mastery. And the more you fortify it, the more you can offer your gifts to the world confidently and kindly. Embracing your own judgment, the final arbiter. One of the most powerful Masonic lessons is that, ultimately, you are the judge of your own life. Sure, we have societal rules, laws, and external pressures from our families or peers. But at the end of the day, the person you have to face in the mirror is you. This can feel both liberating and terrifying. Liberating because you're the one in control of your moral compass, and terrifying because there's no one else to blame if you fall short of your ideals. Think about it like gardening. You can't just plant seeds and walk away, assuming everything will magically flourish. You have to check the soil, adjust the watering schedule, prune dead leaves, and be honest about your results. The same goes for your personal growth. You have to keep an eye on your garden and be real about what's thriving and what's not. If something's choking the life out of your happiness, like a toxic habit or an unhealthy relationship, you can't just pretend it's fine. Masonic teachings suggest that this inner judgment isn't about guilt and punishment. It's about reflection and continuous improvement. You measure your progress by asking tough questions. Am I living authentically? Am I upholding the virtues I claim to value? Where do I need to invest more effort or show more kindness? When you do this honestly regularly, you become your own best mentor, guiding your path from within. It's not a final exam you take at the end of life. It's a quiz you give yourself every single day. Shaping the world from the inside out. Now you might be wondering, okay, so I improve myself, big deal. How does this affect the bigger picture? That's the hidden gem in Masonic philosophy. By transforming your inner world, you naturally start to transform the outer world too. Your relationships become healthier because you're operating with more empathy. Your workplace thrives because you bring clarity and purpose to your tasks. Even your community can benefit from your balanced mindset and genuine goodwill. Ever toss a pebble into a still pond? The ripples move outward, touching every part of the surface. That's you when you become a dedicated builder of your own inner temple. Other people notice the calm, the integrity, the centered energy you radiate. Sure, there are massive global issues out there, but imagine if more folks tackled them from a place of genuine self-awareness and compassion instead of ego or fear. That's how real change starts. And hey, I'm not saying you'll morph into a modern-day superhero with a cape and a giant M on your chest, but you will discover that every interaction you have makes a difference. You'll find your unique way of adding more light, more understanding to the world around you. Over time, these individual lights can brighten up a whole community, maybe even an entire generation. That's the quietly revolutionary power of the Masonic blueprint, personal mastery that echoes far beyond your own skin. And here we are, standing at the threshold. We've dug into ancient Masonic symbols, decoded their mysterious messages, and uncovered the real secret, a blueprint for mastering your mind and life. It's not about hidden treasures guarded by robed figures in candlelit chambers. It's about you, me, and anyone else willing to take the leap into self-discovery and mindful living. So, where do you go from here? You build. You gather your thoughts, refine your emotions, and direct your actions with intention. You examine the corners of your mind that have been left in the dark and dare to shine light on them. You place each brick of integrity, compassion, and wisdom carefully, creating an inner temple that stands firm regardless of life's storms. And you do it all knowing that you are your own ultimate judge, that you're answerable primarily to the person who greets you in the mirror every morning. This path isn't reserved for a secret society. It's open to anyone with the curiosity and courage to follow it. Yes, it can be challenging. Yes, it demands patience and honest self-reflection. But trust me, the view from each new step on this journey is absolutely worth it. You'll see yourself and the world in a clearer light, build lasting inner strength, and spark a ripple effect of positive change wherever you go. So, if you feel that stirring in your heart, the call to explore your potential on a deeper level, don't let it fade. Take that step. Grab the square, the compass, and the eye of awareness, and put them to work in your everyday life. Because the true Masonic secret isn't locked behind a temple door. It's within you, just waiting to be unleashed. And once you set foot on that path, there's really no going back. But then again, would you even want to? Thank you so much for joining me on this fascinating journey. Here's to the builders, the dreamers, and the everyday heroes, forging a better life and a brighter world, one mindful action at a time. Go forth and build something amazing.